Thank you so much for the introduction and the inviting all the speakers here. And I'm really excited because power pack speakers from across the different industries are here. And we have seen the DevOps evolution from multiple years, how the DevOps started, and now it's reached a mature stage. And now we are seeing the further extension and evolution of the DevOps at next stage of the how the things are going to extend. And the topic for which the discussion is, we are focusing on how the DevOps will be focused on the scaling, how we can make sure that DevOps don't break at the scale. So we'll start with the first question, and we request Ms. Anjali to give the answer that how we want to make sure that DevOps won't break at the scale, because the companies are operating now, the scales are increasing, and how to make sure that it won't break at the scale.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dushyant. Wonderful audience, actually. I think we all agree that the common cracks in DevOps are more than technical. It's typically organizational entropy, is what I usually call. When organizations scale, especially large organizations where you have different business units driving different technology priorities, teams sort of start creating silos without understanding or knowing that they're doing it. Creating their own CI/CD pipelines, adopting their own tools and frameworks. So I think in these scenarios, in my experience, what has really helped is adopting a platform mindset where you sort of give the autonomy to the product teams to create their own pipelines to standardize templates, self-service infrastructure. So that way you still give the autonomy without really compromising the consistency.
So Mr. Palash, you want to add on that one that you are managing the AdTech, and AdTech seeing the great traffic on terms of the content consumption, because we see the videos and all type of streaming content are coming on the AdTech. So how we want to make sure that the content and the streaming won't break when the DevOps will be there?
Absolutely. So again, right, like we are leveraging the cloud today, and the best part is, right, you have a platform, right, which never existed maybe 10 to 15 years back. Everything comes as a code today. So you know you have your own templates. You would know, right, like when your load would increase, given the like different load conditions. You have students, right, when their back to school activity takes place, there are n number of students coming to your platform. Some would be taking over from quizzes, some will be looking at across their assignments, and some would also go about checking the new features, right, which got released. So when they look out for the new release, and if it hasn't got tested well enough, right, given the fact that the engineering team has increased and they have deployed these new features, given the fact that the company has now evolved, it's very important that you have the baseline of DevOps blueprint implemented right into the fabric, right? Without these templates and guidelines and IT governance, right, things become very difficult at a later stage. So I would say, yes, implementing DevOps blueprint, having an IT governance model to it, right, having the right mindset in the teams is very, very important for the unprecedented growth, right, that would have taken place. So yeah, that's about it. Anyone else wants to add anything?
Great. I think Umang can add on that one, right? Because Umang managed part of the Gupshup, who managed lots of communication across India, lots of WhatsApp and SMS are going through their platform. And when you're deploying the things, deploying the changes over there at a scale, and the real-time communications are going over there. So how you manage, make sure that DevOps won't break at the scale and communication won't get disturbed?
Not limited to Gupshup per se, but from my overall experience, I would want to talk. I agree with what Anjali and Palash said. The DevOps team should create templates which each development team can implement when they are, creating their own DevOps pipeline. Because you cannot control everything. You have to give liberties. But then how do you ensure that the structure looks the same? Is create templates so that people can, or different development teams can implement those things. That way you can change, one change done at a template level, security aspect or anything, that trickles down to all the development teams. So those things can be controlled, security aspects or what policies you are enforcing at, organization level. If you create the templates, that can be enforced, trickle down the line. Now one more thing which I am very fan or advocate of is that decoupling CD from CI, decoupling deployment from integration. What I'm trying to say here is that when a company scale, what also happens with it is that they acquire different products. So there are different sub-products, which are not necessarily microservice model, right? So they have their own release cycle, which is bound to happen because they have own challenges, they have their own, things that they cater to. So you don't couple or release at the same time. You decouple that. So that when you are testing it internally, it can happen all at this together. So decouple CI from CD. You should not ensure that the pipeline which you are for the particular product directly goes till till production. You can stop it at your internal QA testing level, whatever logical stop you want to give. Then when you are deploying to pre-prod or prod, if you are, then you it be a deployment pipeline which picks up all the tested and deploys it together. So that way you ensure security, compliance or whatever, integrity of the overall solution that you're offering.
Thanks, Umang, for sharing that one. And when we are focusing on the DevOps or the deployment, we have so much reliable and smooth transition on the DevOps. So next question to Rahul, that how you make sure that the smoothness and reliability of the DevOps and CI/CD cycles are maintained?
Good morning, everyone. So see, this answer will be a bit technical since I'm more on the technical side. So couple of things that you can do is like have a Git flow in process. Okay, so that you have a proper Git branching strategies. Second is having your automated test in place, so that once you build the project, you run your test. Other thing is like optimizing your pipelines. That could be running test in parallel, or maybe caching the dependencies. So, or build in parallel, right? You are like having front end and back end, you can try to build them in parallel and just deploy when, both are ready, right? Other than that, one thing I often see people fail to put in their CI/CD pipelines is rollbacks, right? Rollbacks is very critical to business critical applications. So you have to make sure that you have rollbacks in place. One of the most critical thing that I came across in my career is about databases, right? So let's say you introduce a new column to a table. So you have to make sure what is the implication while you deploy or make that migration, right? So we had a case where back-to-back 2 of our releases got delayed by like 4 to 6 hours just because we introduced a new column. So that table had millions of records. So while you add a new column, you have to make sure like how large the table is. Let's say you set default constraint. So it updates row by row, right? And it takes like hours. It might clock the CPU or lock the table, right? So you have to make sure what are the implications while you do the database deployments. And at the same time, even if you are doing blue-green deployments, right? That's a standard that we follow for CI/CD. So you have to make sure like if database changes also goes out, it will be very difficult to roll back those changes. So you have to put all that in your application development. Like it would, still work out even if, the changes goes out, right? And then, make it like maybe the release should be based on the feature flags, right? Have enablers like flags and flags where, you can like basically see if you have to enable that release or not, or if it has been deployed correctly or not. Let's say just roll it out for few users or few of your clients and just see if it is working fine. Then, at this moderate pace, you can just roll it out to all your clients. So these are very simple steps that you can follow for smooth CI/CD deployments.
Yeah. Thanks, Rahul. So Amish, what's your take on that?
Yeah, you raised very valid point, right? We have been seeing the same issues, right? In a sprint where there is a 15 days and 7 developers working, and at least each of them would be working on 3 to 4 features. At the end of a sprint, you might see 400 or 500 branches being created just for one sprint, right? And the teams are so reluctant that even after the merging, they are like, no, we will not prune our branch. We will not delete, although it's merged, right? And at the end, it becomes, okay, from which branch did you create it? Did you create it from master branch or a QA branch, or which branch you had created your feature? And they are hesitant to do a pull down or merge. And that's where the biggest challenge of the merging issues comes. And so we basically I was just talking with Manoj, that we hosted our own LLM model, right, for a code review. And we integrated a webhook that anytime a merge request gets created, it will get code reviewed, right? people will not put in comments, they have a typos in their method names. All of that is popping up, right? And so if all of those are there, the merge will basically proc, right? And we basically use Angular, and the challenge with the Angular is you have to have a separate environment file for each environment. So you cannot use your build which you created for a UAT environment because the URLs and everything will change from UAT to QA. You cannot use that artifacts as is easily, right? Typically for a Java or a PHP world, right, where the same code base will go, you can maintain the artifact repository as well, and you can do the smooth deployment. That's not the case with Angular. So we do face challenges with the Angular, and I keep telling the teams, right, do a labeling of your version which you have deployed on your lower environment, because every time things gets merged, the version number will change, right? The commit will change. So use the labeling along with the merging so that you have a smooth pipeline going from across all the environments.
Palash, want to add something?
Yeah, just one more thing, right? I think like when it comes to governance, that's a very important point you took out, right? Comments missing, merge request, are there like peer reviews happening? Who is allowed to kind of allowed to merge it in the main branch? That's one of the critical things. And then again, as you said, developers will probably say like, I'm not going to delete my branch. The other thing which we also came across is like when it comes to governance, right? We use static code analysis tools. And again, it's very important that you have a lot of various different visibility, right? In terms of whether it's good quality code that is written at the end of the day. If your code is not good, your application will not scale. If your infrastructure, you have the best of infrastructure in the world provided by all the leading cloud providers. But it boils down to that code. If it doesn't take into account auto-scaling requirements, if it is not baselined with Terraform or equivalent ISCs which we have today, those get tagged right before it even gets through the release. So we have set up governance layers in which, unless or until it does not kind of exceed a particular quality gate function, right, it will not get into production. So that's another thing, right, that you can put in a checkpoint so that it doesn't make its way into production, and then again, later on, we have to just scramble and get things back.
So Suresh, I think you can also add on that one, that at content stack, because the content will be distributed across different platforms, right? So how to make sure that the reliability and accountability of the CI/CD is maintained?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the lean manufacturing ideology or movement that happened in the 70s, 60s. I think a lot of those concepts can be translated back into software today. One of the concepts that we use from that set of ideas is this idea of an artifact, right? So when it comes to CI/CD, your CI is something that builds an artifact, and then you promote that artifact across multiple environments. So whether it is development, staging, production. So to answer that question, how do you bring in reliability? You need to ensure that there aren't multiple entry points. So if we imagine, for example, a factory floor, if there's multiple people building the same part, then there is a chance of quality issues happening somewhere. It won't happen, the smoothness and reliability that you're looking for won't happen if everything is happening simultaneously. You need everything to happen in a single piece flow. So what we do at Content Stack is, during the CI process, we use trunk-based development so that there's just one branch. We don't have an issue of merging branches, multiple branches. We just use one branch. We generate an artifact, and then we promote that artifact across the same artifact, across multiple environments. This way, it's really smooth. Any of the tests at any of these environments can say that this artifact cannot be promoted further, and therefore it's just taken out. And by design, you cannot take it to production. So this ensures that there is visibility, you are able to gate and ensure that quality is in place.
Right. So as you mentioned, multiple developers are working across the branches, and then the conflict and the code issues start happening, right? And if you go further on that one, how to manage the rollback and hot fixing. So Vishal can add on that one, that how, if that happens, then how we can make sure we do rollbacks and make sure the fixes works over there.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, good morning, everyone. So first of all, what I can say is that like I'm not in the favor of big releases, like where you are like releasing a bunch of things in one go. So I will always prefer to go ahead with small releases. I mean feature specific releases, so that it will make your life easy to roll back that particular feature. Okay, so to roll back the features, what you can do is like you can use tools like Kubernetes or orchestration tool or Spinnaker or something like that, where if because of some reason that particular image fails to execute, then it can continue with the previous image. So you don't have to worry about like rolling back that particular thing. Along with that, the way Rahul said, right, the feature flag. This is the most important thing that we use in our system, where for each and every feature, you have to put that particular feature behind feature flag, and you can make it available for specific set of people or specific set of whatever you have, merchant or vendors or whatever. So that you can test on smaller set of people, and then you can make it available for other people. Or if in case it fails, then you can disable that particular feature by disabling that particular feature flag. So you don't have to worry about rolling back that particular feature on the spot. You can fix it later on. Okay. Now, also along with that, you can also think about canary deployment, where you can also do like make it available for specific set of people and then make it available for other people. Okay. Now coming to the hot fixes. So yeah, in case where we don't, in case we don't think like the hot fixes are like the feature flags are not working in some cases, or hotfix is mandatory, then what you can do is like you can create your hotfix branch, and on whatever CI or CD tool that you use, like whether Jenkins or Tron CI or Arco CD, whatever, you have to set up a separate pipeline for hotfixes. So if you are doing like parallel deployments and you need hotfix on urgent basis, then you can create separate node pool on Jenkins for hotfix deployment, so that you can it will take high priority and it will do the deployment quickly. Same applies to Tron CI, where you can set the priority for hotfix deployments. So it will make your life easy to it will make the deployment quicker for hotfixes, and you can also remove some checks what you do during the normal deployment, where you are going through the test cases and you are going through the other unit test cases, whatever you are doing. So you can avoid all those things, and you can just take care of few specific test cases related to that particular hotfix, and then do the deployment. Okay.
Thanks for sharing that one. So my next question I think to the Pramod, right? Because you're part of the Dream 11 and Fancode section over there, and we have seen the huge amount of traffic, especially in the IPL, and the things are coming on, especially Dream 11 know for the highest parallel processing traffics they manage at a particular time or particular concurrent user type of traffic. So how to make sure that the DevOps won't break and the reliability and the hotfixes works properly over there?
So I will bring a perspective from a estate and SRE perspective also. So everyone talks about the problem like standardization and the templates, DevOps. These are the crucial problem that everyone fails. I will be focusing on what will be the solution. Like in case of rollbacks and hotfixes also, for my solution to cater that problem is to standardize and democratize the things you are talking about, hotfixes or rollbacks. The one of the solutions can be as soon as your release going through a pipeline, as soon as your deployment is done, first I'm talking about a reactive measure, then I will get into the preventive measure, how to do that. In the reactive measure is once your deployment is on the production and it's got break. So what we have done to decommiterize and you can say standardize the solutions, with the each releases, there can be a button of rollback that will be put on the Slack itself, and anyone that feels that if something is wrong, something is breaking, just click on that button. In that way, you are able to roll back the things. At the background, it can be Kubernetes, any platform that you are using that can, in that way, you can say democracy and you can say standardize the rollbacks. And when you talk about the hotfixes, at the Dream 11 and Fancode, we are ITGC compliance, okay? So it is not that you can do like go to the server and do that things. So your process has to be standard. I will remain on that things. So for the hotfixes, reactive measure can be on the same pipeline. You can have you can say a midway through which you can run your sanity test cases and you will be pushing your hotfix on the production environment. I'm a very strong believer of dev test ops and shifting the testing automation quality gates to the left, whether it's a PR checks or your code review board that you have built on top of your PRs. That is, you can say, a reactive way to get through. When we talk about preventive measures, yes, Canary and the blue-green deployments are the way to get a move around, that you deploy a certain percent of changes to certain employees or you can users, and then you take a decision that you want to increase the increment rollout or not. That is, or even blue-green stack, active passive stack, what you want to promote or you want to go rollback. In that way, usually we handle those crunchy situations. That's them.
Great. So till now, I think we discussed about the what are the DevOps things are there and how to make sure that reliability and consistency maintained across the cycle. Now we want to go much deeper on that one. And one of the key concepts is infrastructure as a code. So my question to Rahul, that what are the challenges we see when we are adopting that infrastructure as a code options?
So see, one of the most common tool for IAC is Terraform, right? And Terraform maintains a state file. So one thing definitely you have to make sure that you don't play around with that state file. And the second thing is you don't make changes directly to the underlying infra, which indirectly will affect your state file. Now, like with respect to, I think one of the panelists mentioned about, like standardization. So my simple point here would be having governance. Right? So you need to have governance. Whatever changes you make, run through a peer or maybe, have a review process for your IAC scripts, right? So when you build the IAC scripts, right, don't make it too large that it's too difficult to maintain them. And secondly, try to build reusable components. When you write reusable scripts, it's better to maintain, easy to maintain, I would say. So also, there's one issue with that could be like, you're using that script across many other scripts, okay? So that could also break other things. So you have to be very cautious while you're, like scaling the infrastructure using Terraform, tools like Terraform. So just be very cautious and have a code review process, have governance for those things, right?
Umang, do you want to add on that one, that how to manage the infra as a code?
Right. So Rahul already mentioned about the issues that we have with the state file and different environments that we have. I would not want to add a dimension on top of it. Whenever you are scaling up from one environment to another, especially using Terraform or any other infrastructure as tool in that case, you have got different security or permission level for each stage that you have. You have to give more, it has environment which are development, they have to be more open so that developers can go there debug. QA have to be more restrictive, a bit more restrictive, then production definitely is restrictive. Now, how do you maintain that permission level, along with your code so that, is the bigger challenge. Because the same code base, same Terraform code or whatever infrastructure code which sets up the environment has to be applied everywhere. And it has to be consistent, it has to be single source of truth. So that way, you segregate the base code and apply permission top of it and ensure that those files which are applying are maintained. So that way, you can review the permission also from time to time. You know what permission is getting applied where. Biggest challenge, as Rahul also mentioned, is that in many environments, you tend to upgrade or apply any kind of settings out of the code, karke dekh lete hain kind of scenario, does it fix the issue or not? It happens. So just restrict yourself, stick to the process and maintain everything in the code is what I would suggest. Otherwise, it's very difficult to maintain at scale,
I just want to add on, everyone here talking about Terraform, Ansible, you can maintain your pipeline as a code as well. Yeah. That's this I want to highlight. That's not infrastructure. You can maintain your pipeline as a code using Groovy, Jenkins files. In that way, those pipelines are maintainable, versionable, and doesn't break when it's a crunch time.
And let's move on to Mandeep. So Mandeep, we have seen about how the different tools and technologies can help us in DevOps. What's your take on observability, that how the teams can make sure that uptime is there and how the observability can be maintained, and what are the different options and case study you are having on that one?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Imagine driving a Formula One car with blindfolded. Doesn't sound like a good idea, right? Speed is useless when you can't see ahead, what's ahead. And running your modern applications without observability is exactly the same. It is utmost important to have an observability in place. It plays as a telemetry cockpit for the DevOps team, which gives them real-time granular insights across infrastructure, across code, security, as well as digital experience. It just not tells you what has gone wrong. It tells you why, where, and how to fix it, right? Before even your customer notices it. So that is what, for example, today, Dream11 and Zomatos of the world scale up to millions of users, maybe on an IPL match or a festival day. And with Datadog, making sure that their platform is stable, reliable, and highly available. Run the operations faster, leaner. That is exactly what observability plays as a role.
Great. And as you mentioned, few aspects are important in terms of monitoring. And let's shift on that one. That security is major concern in DevOps pipelines and the code. So we want to understand from the Anjali that how the security plays an important role and how security left and the other aspects are important and how some company comply, some company not able to comply. What's your take on that one?
Shifting security left is the most common phrase nowadays, actually. And few days back, someone told me that they've implemented a security test as a gatekeeper at CI level, and they've shifted security left. In reality, most of these tools are reactive rather than enablers. So my first point, I think, would be with the rapid adoption of AI that has happened over the last 2-3 years. And with all due respect, our security and compliance department has shifted from being a department of no to an engineering ally. By that, it means that requirements are now getting written in a secure way. Right? Security is getting embedded into requirements itself. So we need to be ready for those mindset shift and embed security at design, architecture, and infrastructure level itself. Second point, I think with AI coding tools coming to life and becoming so popular, jailbreak codes becoming so available in repositories, we cannot really leave coding standards, guidelines in Excel checklists and PDFs. We need to codify those standards and embed them into the developer workflows so that developers shift their mindset to write secure codes rather than finding it at the CI level when they see the security defects. So I think when we say shifting security left, it means we need to not just shift the tools to left, but also embed it at design, infrastructure, architecture, and the developer workflow level.
So Amish, NBFC and fintechs are highly compliant domains, right? And small
Absolutely.
security breach can create lots of issue for them. So what's your take on that one, the security concern?
I completely agree. Although we shifted left, as I was saying, right, we have a webhook implemented, we have a SonarQube running. But when it comes to reviewing the code, a lot of times people just don't go to the SonarQube to see whether there were issues or no, right? And we tried to put it in the pipeline, we tried to stop it. Eventually, or like, this is fine, we get an exception, some are valid, some are invalid. So things are all done. Although all of that happens, at times things do slip out. So finally, I've given access to my QA team. You ensure that in a QA, whatever comes to you for a release, that particular code base doesn't have any security or reliability issues. If there are there, just move the code instead of moving it to ready for deployment, move it to code hygiene. Let the team take care of it because the board will not approve whichever have moved to code hygiene. So that's what we have implemented as a governance, right? You give them anything, same goes with the observability. At the runtime, you might have an error, which you saw it in the QA environment, but the code followed it. Now, how do you track it, right? A QA won't see an exception which was followed. Obviously, that's going to get reported to the Sentry environment, right? So we gave the access to the QA team, go and check our observability environment as well. In the lower environment, were there any high priority issues which got caught, right? So we have given the QA both the options to ensure the SonarQube as well as the Sentry observability is taken care before it actually moves to the production deployment. So now QA is also doing my QA for security and the observability part.
Right. And we have seen recent time, right, the technology is evolving, that things are scaling it fast, and the users' expectations are very high as of now, right? Every user wants all the services to be available all time, right? And if anything is down, we start seeing the trends across the different social media platforms. If WhatsApp is down, or NPCI is down, UPI is down, these are the recent trends we have seen, anything is there. And for them, the infra team plays an important role because everything needs to be available at a time. So question to Vishal that, okay, how to make sure the site reliability, availability is taken care by the teams?
Yeah, definitely. So first thing, again, I will repeat, feature flag, most important thing, where you can if you are releasing any buggy thing, and then if it's like people are getting affected, then you can on the spot disable that particular feature. Okay, so that's first thing that you can do. Other than this, whenever we think about giving deployment part to the developers directly, okay, and they can configure their deployment templates, even though we are providing proper templates, DevOps team is providing proper templates to them, but they are doing misconfiguration, like number of whatever CPU utilization crosses that particular limit, or memory utilization crosses that particular limit, then how you can scale up or scale out your system. So those trainings are required, like we have to provide proper training to the developers. Like these are the things where you have to be be more sure about your configuration. Now the third thing is dependency on third-party tools, because you might have seen like if you have deployed your service and you are saying like my service will be up for 99.99%, but you are dependent on third party. They are claiming like their service will be available for 99.95. Then you can't say that like your service will be up for 99.99% up. Like just giving you an example, few years back, like 2 years back, all the websites in the world were down because of some one CDN issue, and that it impacted businesses like anything. So you have to take care of everything while you provide proper SLOs to your clients.
So Pramod, you want to add on that one, that how availability plays an important role?
For SREs, I will say one of the problem basically nobody realizes on is the alert fatigue. That's the one thing that I want to highlight. Everyone's talk about, there are a number of things that usually you face, but as an SRE, when something breaks, you get a lot of alerts. So to get into what can be the solutions to reduce the alert fatigue is that you need to have correct SLO defined for your services and errors. That is the one thing that I want, that we have done it, that help us to get on the point. Another thing is to reduce the toil. Whatever your repetitive tasks are there, just automate it so that in crunch time, your SREs or estate can directly get into the things that is failing and debug them and fix them faster.
Palash, do you want to add on? Because again, education, e-learning,
Yes.
content, streaming,
Right. So
anything
think of
cannot
it,
be done.
right? Like you have back to school activity and the students have come. There's a live class that is going on. And the teacher is teaching a new content, right? And again, suddenly like some portion of the content is not visible anymore. At the back end, right, a lot of things might be there. Maybe the DB deployment build that went in pointed to QA. Maybe the container was crashing at the crashback loop at the back end. So nobody knows, right, what's going on. The teacher will just call up the help desk and say, my site is not loading. I cannot teach the students. At the end of the day, right, it's the experience that counts. So site reliability engineers, right, they play a very important role. And I'll take various different user personas. So the first personas could be maybe the product owner who's trying to sell this particular product to various different institutes. And again, if the product is not stable, someone might make a particular complaint on a social media that says, okay, that particular product, right, is not sellable in the market, because they will take that one single instance that a teacher was teaching and the content was not available on the screen. For the engineering team, yes, they need deep insights from the SRE team. Again, there are golden signals. You have got like SLIs, SLOs, all the different metrics, right, where the team is sitting there on their chairs. Okay, now what has failed? Let's look at the log. Okay, is that the correct one? And I think to your point, right, I think pinpointing it, right, to the actual line of code becomes very, very important, right? Today we have a number of tools. They give you a certain amount of visibility, right? But the problem might be elsewhere, right? The code probably is throwing exceptions. However, right, that could be because the code has not been tested enough, right, on sustained capacity. Maybe the QA check, right, that maybe up to 1,000 users of test. However, the real load conditions, right, was not tested. Even if you add up chaos engineering principles and other things, right, at a real world scenario, when you have live users coming into a platform, it's a completely different ballgame, right? We can simulate it. Yes, we can go to that extent. However, right, like the expected outcome of the application would be somewhat different. But yes, with today's modern tools and sets, we can at least try to say confidently, yes, 90 to 90%, right, you should be able to pinpoint to the actual line of code. Anyone else?
Yeah. So from which, yeah, Umang, you want to add something?
I have my 2 cents to put, if you allow. Especially in this case, I mean, you're talking about SRE and how to maintain high availability in SRE case. This is the place where DevOps and SRE jobs are a bit different. I mean, SREs definitely are on the hook, 99.999 whatever you say % availability. DevOps, you can have leverage, I mean, I have been maintaining a lot of DevOps tools since time. You don't need 99.999 wala funda over there. You just need to ensure that everything comes back up as soon as possible. Right. So you don't have to maintain live kind of environment, so that you immediately switch to other environment. No, you can live with that. So you have to find where do you need that. Unnecessary wastage of cost on having live environment not always makes sense. Just as per my experience, there are many cases where internal environments are there, wherein you don't have to maintain them. You can bring it up within half an hour or 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You can live with that. So it's a cost scenario.
And we have seen, as we are using the DevOps, the tools which we are using keep on increasing. So my next question to Suvish, that how to make sure that the tools complexity keep on increasing, we maintain and we understand how the tools are being used, and maintain the complexity and the same way maintain the availability and reliability of the platform.
Right. At Content Stack, we face this problem a lot. In fact, there were many new products that we wanted to bring up to the market. We spawned a number of different teams, and the complexity in both the teams, the pipelines, and the products itself that we were using just skyrocketed. So we tried to find a different approach. We found that platform engineering really helped. So basically what we did is, of course, there is going to be complexity. What you can do is you can encapsulate it. So we have operations people, DevOps people who treat that platform as a product. And that product is for the developers to smoothly take code to production, right? And that's how we tamed the complexity. So they got onto this with product thinking, with design thinking. They made sure that the user interface to the developers is very, very simple. They are able to take the code without a lot of hassles. They tested it again and again through multiple environments. At the end of the day, what we ended up with is less back and forth between the developers and the operations. And so the complexity level is also low. All the complex details are encapsulated in this platform that we have built for the developers. And so there is a independence that the developers is having over here.
So Anjali, you want to add on that one, that how infrastructure and tooling is playing an important role in how to maintain the complexity?
I think most of us covered, but in my experience, accountability beats approvals. So I would say empower your team with their own budgets and let them own every spend, link every dollar and rupee to an ROI and an OKR. So that way you will reduce the decision fatigue and really focus on scaling the infrastructure.
Great. So till now we discussed everything, most of the thing about the DevOps, the basic, the reliability, the consistency, the infra as a code, security, and now the final, most important question, AI in DevOps. Okay, and we want to understand the point of view of everyone. So we start with the Mandeep, that how you understand the AI is going to play an important role. What are the use cases where we can understand AI is going to play an important role?
Yeah, so AI, I don't think we can get out of a meeting without having a discussion about AI these days, right? Even when I met the panelists, we spent about 20, 30 minutes just talking about AI. While it becomes extremely important to evolve, right? Tech became the surname of every business that we know. EdTech, Health Tech, GovTech, FinTech, XYZ, right? In order to stay ahead of the curve and make sure our users are getting the experience that is needed today, I think AI becomes the pivotal. Center of gravity revolves around, we have the traditional and basic fundamentals of technology. How can we harness and leverage the AI in the DevOps world to ensure we stay ahead of the curve? How can we give that experience to a user where the platform becomes seamless? It can do predictive analytics for them. It can give them the reaction faster than they can even imagine. So I think AI is the center of gravity around this entire innovation that we're looking at today.
Rahul?
We just had discussion for 20 minutes with Mandeep, and he actually gave one of the use case, like, when you are using observability platforms, right? You have a lot of data in place, and now you can use AI. Okay, what are your common recurring issues or common recurring patterns? You can as he said, you can use predictive analytics, right? So you can try to identify where your systems are lacking or where they need improvement. So that is where you can use AI in DevOps, but not in the true sense like just with DevOps, but even after post, like let's say you do retrospective meetings or where, post deployment meetings where you see to try to identify, okay, where things are going wrong. That are the places where you can use these platforms and leverage AI to understand how you can make things better.
Umang, you want to add?
Yeah, we already had a good discussion on that. Probably Anjali missed that. We had it upstairs. Okay, so there are two aspects to it in AI. I mean, multiple aspects, but two I would talk about. One is how it helps DevOps team and how DevOps team can leverage it to help the users, be it developers or whoever the end users of or whatever you are. So how DevOps can leverage it is there are a lot of AI plugins available which makes, for example, a very example I'll talk about is which we use very widely, GitLab Duo, right? So when you run a GitLab pipeline, suppose it fails, it directly gives you a plugin over there, so you can click it and it will not only give you where it fails and detail of it, but also an alternative solution to it. So a lot of time, debugging and all comes down. That is one thing. I mean, there are a lot of tools, such plugins available for all the DevOps tools you have. Second thing, how DevOps team can help it. I was talking about it also in our icebreaker session. Personally, the way it has helped me is upscaling. In DevOps, technology, software language or whatever you call it changes very fast. So how do you keep up to speed with the changing technology? Because you know how things work, but technology may change from time to time. And also, sometimes it is Jenkins, sometimes it is GitLab, sometimes it is XYZ, Python, everything, scripting, Golang, a lot of scriptings are there. It's very difficult for a person to know everything about that, but you know what you want from that particular script. So if you have a basic knowledge of how scripting works or technical things work, you can ask AI, kind of give an algorithm or a use case, and it will generate the code for you. But you should be software or intelligent enough to understand that don't use it blindly. Leverage it, make it a good friend or not a,
Expert teacher.
yeah, kind of. Don't just over-rely on things. Ensure how you can make best use of it rather than totally relying on it is what my take would be.
So Suvish, you I want to understand the AI in the tech plus content.
Right. So, one very interesting usage of AI that we did in Content Stack, maybe I'll talk about that. So it ties back to the previous question you asked about availability. It's a big concern of ours.
Right.
And one of the biggest killers for availability is pushing bad code to production, right? So how do we avoid it? We went through a few cycles of failure over here. And so we realized we had to do something. One of the initiatives we came up with is a hackathon. It's a very different kind of hackathon. What we did is we asked all of the developers to start pushing bad code to production, okay? This is so that we can test the resiliency of our pipelines. Okay. So we have our test suits and all of that. We want to ensure that it does not pass through. So over here we used AI quite a bit. So all of the developers did in fact, because AI, if you use Copilot, if you use Cursor, it has access to your entire code base. It knows the tests that are there. And now it can try and write it can try and write code which may not be caught through those tests, right? So we did that and we actually found that, there are so many issues that could be fixed. And at the end of the day, we have a more resilient pipeline today. So that's just one story I wanted to share.
Great. And Palash, I want to understand again the tech, first the edtech part,
Yes.
how the AI plays an important role in edtech and how we can use it in the tech properly.
Right. So for the EdTech part, right, I'll just cover that first. So right now, as I was saying some time back, there are students in the universities, right? They are potentially doing their post-graduation or their master's program and all. And they are leveraging these AI tools, right, to a very large extent. And one part is good is like they're leveraging, they're probably getting various different ideas, right, in which they can help create the content. But the problem is that content becomes copyrighted, right? So at the end of the day, that copyrighted content makes its way into the final sheet, and there would be someone who would be sitting there probably running certain tools just to check, right, whether that was a AI generated content or not, right? So these are some of the aspects, right, which we are trying to safeguard for some of our platforms which we use. At some point of time, right, if you're building a platform and if someone is probably authoring a content with a plagiarized piece of content, right, that also gets into a lot of other issues. So that's one of the use cases that we have just to ensure, right, like the copyrighted content does not make its way, right, for people either where they are consuming that material or whether they're creating the material. That's one aspect that we have. And again, as like some my fellow colleagues stated, right, as part of the pipelines, we have some AI integrations, right? For example, in SonarQube, they've just recently introduced certain AI-based plugins that pushes back your code, right? And just to kind of highlight what are the areas you should focus on, the way the code is being written, or whether it has got vulnerabilities, or whether it might induce certain additional features, right, when the code is mixed into production. So these are the few aspects, right, that we have been using.
All right. From Amish, you want to understand because the NBFC and fintech are the biggest part of the scams and the fraud attacks happens over there, right? So how AI plays an important role in identifying the scams and the frauds which can happen over there?
So we have been using AI. I won't say we have not been using it, but we try to host our own LLM models because biggest worry is my data should not be going out, right? So we have, as I was saying, we have hosted our own LLM models for code reviews, right? We use SonarQube for the OWASP and the security issues and all that, and it does suggest. But we have not plugged in external AI agents because of the hesitant that my code should not go out. As far as the document and all the validity comes into picture, right? We have our own Python tools which we have created rather than using the LLM models to validate the authenticity, finding the signature of the files. If it's a PDF file, how was it created? Who created it, right? It's not a Word document converted to a PDF, Excel converted to PDF. So we have those measures which we take before we actually validate the document. And then industry itself, right? We have stopped using old passbook formats or PDF statements. Rather than we are moving more towards the account aggregator, right? We give the customers, you authenticate and provide the consent so that we can download the data from your DGIO account, from your bank statements, rather than you providing us a document. It helps in both the ways. I have to not maintain so many large files, and my storage sizes will reduce, as well as I will get authenticated documents. So industry itself in fintech, we are basically moving towards more of a consent base, you providing us the access rather than you uploading the data.
Right. And Pramod, you want to understand how AI will be used at Dream11 and Fancode to serve all the customers?
So in Fancode and Dream11, mostly we use AI as a skew chef, you can say, not directly rely on AI on everything, but it's helping us in bit and pieces to increase the developer productivity. It can generate a function, autocomplete, cursor, copilot, these things are there, and there are agentic AI models that can help you to shift left or code reviews, security flaws that are there. So it helps us to accelerate the development faster. That is the current use case that we have here in Fancode. Yeah.
Great. And Anjali, at IKS or other use cases which you can share?
Actually, I've been very fortunate. Last, I would say 5 to 6 years, all my initiatives have been AI first.
Great.
So right from e-commerce, discovery, top funnel, middle funnel, post-purchase, to today, whether it's audio speech recognition, whether it is summarization of medical records, we heavily use AI. If we were to not use AI, today's cost and efficiency for us would not survive. Right? So it's no longer for us a plus thing, it's become a requirement for us to use AI at IKS. In terms of developer efficiencies, we have seen a lot of improvement, but we are also codifying the guardrails around developer AI tools, and I think it's very essential because everybody is new to using a lot of AI coding tools. So it's important that we codify those security guardrails.
Finally, Vishal, you can share at TabSquare and AI, what other things are there?
Yeah, at TabSquare, we are using AI like anything, starting from 2018. So if you think about personalized recommendations, if you think about cross-sell, upsell recommendations, then live recommendations right now, what we have implemented recently with the help of Jain AI, where you sit in the restaurant, you place an order, okay, and after placing an order, you are not doing anything till the food will come on your table, right? So we are giving them personalized cross-sell recommendations like, hey Vishal, you have bought this, you have ordered this item, now you can purchase this at this particular discount. So we are using proper CRM and AI, combination of CRM and AI in our system to like give proper experience, user experience to the end users, and we are also helping a restaurant to increase their sale with the help of AI. Okay. Apart from that, we are also encouraging our developers to use AI tools for the development. Like recently, we deployed a new product within 10 days. Yeah. So we used like Cursor, and we used bolt.new for the UI development and Cursor for backend development, and then we used a few crawlers like crawl for AI and few other things, and we completed the munchmate.ai product within 10 days.
Great. I think that's all from our side. It's been great honor to moderate this session. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for sharing your experience, thoughts with all of us, and we have learned a lot from this discussion. Thank you so much.